Shalom, peace, and blessings. Welcome. No intro today. We were having some technical difficulty, so we're going to get right into the weekly update. This is week number 19 of the SnipeAthon. And so last week we had a starting balance of $4,984.62. And we ended the week at $4,964.42. So we had 0 wins, 0% win rate, no open trades running. And we had the net. Well, there were no open trades running at the time that I made this. At the end of the week. So the net profit loss is $35.38. And what we are focusing on this week, or actually notes for this week, is the interest rate change with the euro. And then this week's focus is going to be the bounce or the reversal, and we'll get right into it. Tonight is going to be a short call. I'm going to try to wrap this up by 9:30. So we'll get right into it. We'll get into the news. So let's see what the outlook for the week is for red folder news releases. Right. Here we go. All right. So beginning tomorrow at 8:15 in the morning, we have employment change. That's a red folder news release for the United States dollar. And then we have weighted median CPI and trend mean for Australian dollar, whoever trades the Australian dollar, tomorrow evening. Look out for some volatility on that pair. Wednesday, we have the IFO business climate for the euro. That's going to be at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to be looking at the market to be moving. If I have a direction when we get into talking about the reversal, the way things line up as far as timing, where price is at now and where it should be, Tuesday morning, and then going into Wednesday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. Thursday, we have the consumer confidence for the euro. It's going to be at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then we have a lot of red folder news releases at 8:30 on Thursday. That's going to be a big day for the United States dollar. We have the GDP growth rate, durable goods, core PCE, more durable goods, continuing jobless claims, initial jobless claims, personal income, and more durable goods. So Thursday is going to be a big day for the United States dollar at the New York Open at 8:30 in the morning. And then Friday, we have the goods, trades balance, and Michigan consumer sentiment for the United States dollar. That's going to be at 8:30 in the morning and 10 o'clock in the morning. As you all know, I don't really trade on Friday, but if you do, just be on the lookout for volatility at 8:30 and 10 o'clock for the United States dollar. Now, getting into the actual dollar, so before we get into the dollar, I want to give you guys some insight on what happened last week with interest rates. Just in case you didn't know, there were interest rate decisions made by the United States, or the Fed and the ECB, right, the European Central Banking. So the United States, or basically the Fed, decided to not cut rates, so they stayed still. But the ECB actually hiked rates by 0.25 basis points, which that decreases, the distance between the dollar and the euro. So what that means is the euro became a little more attractive, but overall is still less attractive than the dollar. This doesn't mean that the dollar is going to go bearish. This just means that the gap closed a little bit, and it's looking like Europe wants to continue increasing rates. They're looking at increasing interest rates, at least 2 to 3 times before the year ends. And then there's a possibility that the Fed may hike rates for the dollar, depending on what happens with the war with Iran. And so, with that being said, I'm going to be looking at some. Really, I'm looking at some major pullbacks. Like I'm expecting major movements to happen. Just looking at it on the technical side, the dollar has broken out of this consolidation that it was in and is headed towards the sell zone that we've been looking at. If we drop down to the lower time frame, we can see what happened within the consolidation. We feel that imbalance blew past the mitigation zone, the sell zone, went straight up out of consolidation, retested, and now it's starting to head up, but it's kind of pausing right now. So I am expecting this to pull back a little bit because this does look like a pause or a consolidation. And I'm going to tell you why I believe the euro is doing like a temporary reversal right now, or is about to be bullish in the beginning of the week. All right, so looking at EU, it's the euro versus the dollar. We got to keep in mind that this is one big range. All right, don't want to forget that we are within a big range right here, right? And with that, looking at it from the higher time frame, I expect consolidation or a range to behave the same way it does on a lower time frame. And so with that, with us being at the bottom of the range now, I'm expecting a bounce at some point. I am expecting EU to bounce strongly, which would present a nice buying opportunity on the smaller time frames, right? We're on a daily right now. We're at the bottom of consolidation. If we can get a bounce, even back up to the sell break, or midway of the consolidation, I believe that would be a nice buying opportunity. So why I said in my notes that I'm waiting on the bounce, and I believe it's at a point of a reversal. So we had a strong rejection here, and then it came back down. And mind you, this is after we had this big sell-off. And so we consolidated, pulled back, and then it really just sold off. And I feel like price has exhausted itself and it's starting to create somewhat of a consolidation zone here. So we're consolidating at the bottom of consolidation. And what I'm looking for is a strong bounce tonight. Hopefully, even if we get a poke down, out of the bottom of the range and then a move up, I am expecting EU to at least come back to the top of this range that it started to create. So within the range, I'm gonna mark this up. We have a range within the range. And so if I start to see EU creep up tonight, let me lock this. And I'm actually already anticipating. I'm in a position now. I took a chance on it. I bought at the bottom of consolidation, and we'll see how it plays out. But I am expecting EU to start to creep back up to the top of this consolidation. And if we get a break in the close above these highs, then I would be expecting to attack this high here and possibly feel some imbalance up here. But I would stop buying once price clears this high right here. That's when I would stop buying because they do a lot of sweeping. And if we clear that high, that's when I would, start to reevaluate. But this is what I'm looking for, whether it does this or even if we get something like this first. Where we kind of actually, come out of the range. I would like this even better if we sweep and then you see something like that where it comes back up. Um, I believe that would be a strong setup for a buy. Now, as far as selling, I would want to see, because we're at the bottom of the consolidation, and I have to treat consolidation like consolidation. I have to watch for it to return right to the top. So as far as selling, I would really have to see it sell off from, maybe feel some imbalance, and then come back down to the bottom of the consolidation, hang out, and then I would be looking for it to, continue down. Not saying that that's going to happen this week. That's a lot of price action that would need to happen. So I'm really I'm banking on a buying opportunity. And once I get that buying opportunity, I will have to wait. I will have to sit around and wait. Even though I'm bearish on EU, this is a consolidation range. So, and we are at a point where it could possibly reverse. And you can look in the past and see what I mean by that. We came up to the top of the range, right? Came down and it rejected, and it went all the way back up to the top of the range. Then we came all the way back down, and it went all the way back up to the top of the range. Then we came back down to the range again, right? And then went all the way back up to the top of the range. So I'm treating this the same way. Um, like I said, unless we just completely fall out and then get clear closes, below the range, then I would think about retesting the, selling the retest of the bottom of the range. But for now, what I'm looking for is price to turn around at the bottom of this range, maybe range here. And if we break above this high here, then I would be looking to buy up here, and I will close out the position that I'm in now. Right. Hey, what's going on, Joe? Welcome to the call. What's going on, Darius? Welcome to the call. Like I said, this will be a short call tonight. I wanted to be off of here by 9:30, so we got about 17 more minutes left. So I'll look into some pairs that we looked at last week. So I know we looked at the Australian dollar. Let's see what happened. Well, this was actually 2 weeks ago here. Price never did go up and come to the sell zone, and it just kind of sold off. Believe there was an interest rate decision for the Australian dollar yesterday that really made it move. And yeah, from what I'm seeing for the Australian dollar, it's starting off the week bearish, and I'm looking to see what it does around this level here, because we have this activity where this is a major level right here, and we came up, retested it, bounced, and then broke above it, and now we're coming back down to revisit that area. So I want to see how the Australian dollar responds first, especially since it kind of moves a little similar to EU. But I will wait and see how AU is going to respond once it gets down here. Are we going to get a bounce, or is it going to, break below this level, hold below, and then start to creep down? Because if so, then we'll be looking at this low as a target, and then we'll be looking somewhere down in this area for a major reaction. Actually, I like here. All right, so AU, it looks like it's already starting to move. Let's see what's going on the lower time frame. What's happened? Well, it's kind of just been trending down. Supposed to be, well, that's tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, so tomorrow there's some major news releases for the Australian dollar. So if anything, I mean, with this, even though it's kind of trending down, this is still somewhat of a range, and these highs are, they look ripe. They look ripe for the taking. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got a push back up, before it continues down, if it's going to continue down. I don't see anything clear on AU, just like I really don't see anything clear on EU either. I really got to see what it does after tonight. Got the economic indicators. What is US 30 doing? All right, last week we went over the imbalance, came down, filled almost all of the imbalance, and took off. And this more than likely is going to continue. US 30 is more than likely going to continue this week, at least up to the old high. And if it is going to pause, this is where I would expect it to slow down and lose momentum at. Right back up near the old or the new all-time high. So we are reacting off of that imbalance or that market open gap. And I think that this supports short-term buying on US 30, especially with how volatile it is. I think there's going to be some buying opportunities tonight and tomorrow morning. Oh, yeah. We created this little level here. Got this high. Always want to consider the lows. Could possibly be taken out, but I don't expect it to come back below this low within the next 24 hours. I think it's dealing within this range here. And I think that this is the target. So could come sweep this low right here and take off, or maybe it stays above this level and takes off from here. So we will see. I will keep an eye on that. See what's going on with gold. All right, so market open gap. It did come down and fill that gap, and it reacted nicely after it filled it. Filled the gap, nice reaction, and then we sold off. And so maybe we stay up under this gap now. Yeah. I believe gold is going to sell off. Not sell off, but as far as what I'm looking at right now, as far as price action, I believe it's coming for these lows, and I'm calling it to come down to this level at $4,109. Let's just call it 4,110. Yep, we broke below the imbalance. Price is playing, and it's pretty much closed, and staying up under that imbalance. And I believe this is the liquidity that is coming for short term. What's going on with U.S. oil? Never came back up to fill that imbalance. It's just falling. This is probably due to peace talks with Iran, but as we know, it's a lot of variables with that, and more than likely that's going to continue to go sour with Israel being in the middle of that conflict. So if they were setting oil up to continue bullish, right, and get expensive again, where would they buy from? Well, we got a market open gap down here. Which is in between $67 and $69. So we'll mark this up as imbalance. And we'll pay attention to that and see how price reacts. I want to make a note of this as far as storytelling when it comes to market manipulation. If they're setting oil up to go higher, like they set it up to go low because of talks of peace, right? Because peace with Iran, the opening of the strait, that would mean lower gas prices, which would match what we see on the screen. But as far as what's going on really and what they probably plan to do, more than likely it's probably going to get expensive again. And if they were going to buy, I believe that this may be the target area they come down to before it goes bullish again. But we'll see, right? We'll notate that for future reference. Let's see what the pound versus the Japan yen has been doing. Still bullish. Haven't come back above this high or above these highs, but yeah, I don't like what I'm seeing on Japan yen. Isn't anything clear. This is pretty much a range too. Right. Hey, peace and blessings, Jovan. What's going on, John? Yeah, so not a lot going on in the market right now. I would say this is what I would consider unattractive. It's a lot of not really any clear setups I'm seeing anywhere. Because it's a lot of indecision, especially with what's going on with the recent decisions with interest rates, and then what's going on with the war with the United States and Iran and Israel. So that pretty much wraps it up. That wraps it up for this call. Like I said, I wasn't gonna hold y'all, and the goal was to get off of here by 9:30. I hope that you all had a restful weekend and that you're ready to tackle the week and accomplish whatever goals it is that you have set for this week. And if not, set whatever it is, something positive. But yeah, that wraps it up for week 19, the SnipeAthon. I will see you all in the chats and on the charts. Remember, becoming a master trader isn't about mastering the markets as much as it is about mastering yourself, and discipline before profits and faith over everything. Y'all have a good night. Peace.